Hello. Yes, so this is a slightly sort of Christopher Nolan twisty-turny way of doing this because I must admit I recorded some questions and then missed these, so I'm putting these at the start of this video, so apologies, but woo, future. Well, I'm watching that Doctor Who special later, so it all kind of fits in. And Van Hikari, who is a super awesome regular supporter of us, asked us what he thought the character's favourite movies would be. I reckon that's a good question because I think the way the characters kind of work, I think they would have certain approaches. I think Guillermo, I think, would be very old school. He strikes me as someone who would like, say, Goodfellas or like Mission Impossible. Like, he wouldn't be particularly complicated. It'd be like, it's on, watch it. Like, he's not going to be someone who's going to give you a review afterwards. I think Sal, would be kind of open to something a bit more kind of art house. But I think she'd also want a bit of coziness. So something like, say, Amelie or a bit of Sense and Sensibility, or like I say, maybe like A Legally Blonde or something like that. Like, it's not that she's averse to sort of light-hearted stuff. It's just that I think she's kind of someone who wants to kind of like enjoy what she enjoys, and I think it's possible to kind of go in for like the heavier stuff and kind of more light-hearted stuff. So I think that would probably be where she is. In Vibes' this case, I mean, she would totally be like MCU, DC, action films, comedies. I think very much kind of put it on, enjoy it. Like, probably could hold her own in a conversation about it, but wouldn't be that bothered by it. Like, she's got other stuff to do. So if there was, sort of talk about something, she'd probably like, put her thoughts in and then go off again. But yeah, I think she would I think in terms of film preferences, Vibes would probably be the most relaxed about it, and put on like, say, an Austin Powers or a Zoolander or just like fun stuff, like, say, like The Rock or Con Air or whatever. I would enjoy it and then like move on to the next thing that she's doing. Or like it would probably be on in the background. I think Sal, would be more likely to kind of sit and want to kind of pour over it and enjoy it. Whereas I think Guillermo would fall asleep. There's no question. I don't think, like I say, even with something he really likes, I think I can imagine him just not like having the effort to kind of engage. I think Sal is probably the one that would want to engage most with it. And yeah, I mean, I'm not to the point where she'd get in an online argument or anything, but definitely she'd be the most passionate, I'd say. Hello everyone. Yeah, so we've got a few quick questions here, and yeah, like, I'll be interested to sort of answer because there's been some interesting couple of questions here, and I'm going to get right into it. If you've got any questions, by all means comment them below. We can always do another Q&A later. That's awesome. And I've got a little extra thing that I'm going to do at the end, and I'll explain that at the end, so watch the whole way through and something might just come up. Right, so let's kick things off. Let's have a look. So, when writing my own books, there is always the concern you might slip up on lore or continuity. Is there anything in Reynard City you wish you could go back and change or remake for the future of the franchise? Which is a super interesting question by Billy Twig, the author of Raging Destiny. And yeah, that is a superb question to kick off. And this was partially one of the things we did with Reynard City Chronicles, because I think when I first wrote like the original Reynard City webcomic, the caramel weakness thing was a very basic. She contact with the caramel, inflate, pretty much it. And later on, we kind of learnt a bit more. So, strangely enough, I was working at a massage equipment shop, and this woman, taught me about the idea behind holistic theories, the idea that the body affects the mind and the mind affects the body, and, pressure points in the body affecting different parts. And I like the idea that in a psychic connection, these two things could connect each other. So if you've had a traumatic experience, that could affect you physically as well as mentally. Now, the problem with the original one, I mean, I say problem, that's exaggeration, is that in it, Sensei Mike gives AK Girl like the caramel and she inflates, and it's kind of a punishment for her disobeying his instructions. And I think some people quite rightly said, like, that's very cruel, and like, she's a kid. It's like, whilst what she did was dangerous, she's still a kid. And so we tweaked it in Reynard City Chronicles in that it was an accident, that he did it to try and calm her down, but it didn't calm her down. And since then, that trauma has stuck with her, but it was an accident. So whilst Sensei Mike can be harsh and he can be strict, he's not an arsehole. And I think that was an important thing to sort of, you know, differentiate that from the original series. Likewise with AK Girl, we sort of changed some of the parts of her backstory in that she's kind of less, you know, sort of out there. So like there was one scene in like the first issue where she sort of sucker punched Guillermo, and it's like, in this one she doesn't do that, but it's like a traumatic reaction, and it's a bit more understandable, because again, whilst we want characters to be flawed, we don't want them to be outright jerks. There's the line is very difficult, and you want to get it right, and they're kind of the examples here and there of tweaks we've done to characters to kind of add a few layers, if you like. And if you look at Chronicles compared with like the earlier webcomics, there's more and more elements of that. But, you know, it's a very good question. I mean, there's probably a whole bunch of other examples we could go into, but I think those two will do for now, and whilst you're reading it, keep an eye out for others. Okay, so let's move on. And Star Warrior 1999 on Discord asks us if AK Girl has any other alliances. Now, I was trying to think what that could mean. So, when I think of alliances, I think of people that she's worked with, or like, you know, is she like a Marvel or a DC, you know, does she like Star Wars or Star Trek? I you know, there's a number of ways you can interpret this. But I think the simple thing is that what's been really cool with, like, say, the fan art and stuff, we've had her working with different characters, and the different characters sort of play off her in different ways. So we had Lugia's character Haley in a short story with her, and kind of a sort of antagonistic relationship that gets better. Or, you know, there are some characters where, like, there's like the mini story with Ultra V, where it's kind of more of a buddy cop relationship. And I mean, in terms of like who I think she'd get on with, like, I don't know, like, part of me thinks like she'd do well as, like, because like in like the Avengers, it's a very sort of sharp, kind of quippy kind of crew, and I can imagine her trading stuff off with Tony Stark, and her getting called like Farthingwood or something, and her shoot something back at him, and it would be fun. But equally, I mean, I think people are very simple and sort of forget that, like, there are dark Marvel characters and there are light, fun DC characters. So the likes of, say, Plastic Man or Booster Gold or what have you, or maybe like Cyclone in the JSA. I think they'd all get on with her. So those would be examples, I'd say, of alliances that she'd be a part of. But again, you know, I want to hear from you. I mean, I'd like to hear what you think her other alliances could be. Like, as I say, this is how I've chosen to interpret the question. You might have other thoughts on that, but there it goes. Finally, a question that's come up a few times on DeviantArt, and I kind of wanted to cover it here to kind of clear this up. So this idea, do you do requests? Now, on the DeviantArt especially, I should clarify, whilst I'm posting up art from Reynard City, I am not an artist, and if you look, each time we post the art, it is credited to the people that do the art, and if they're on DeviantArt, it will link to their account. If not, there will usually be a link, so if you don't see a link, let me know, and I'll pass on details. And that person is someone you can talk to, and maybe they do requests, maybe they do commissions, and obviously these things sort of change from time to time, and different people will have different rules. But the great thing is, like I say, if you go, for example, if you go on our Fan Art Friday videos, there's a whole bunch of people, and a lot of them do requests, a lot of them do commissions. Just look them up and, you know, sort of see, like, most of them will have like a pinned message that you can look up and talk to them. And I've got to say personally, I think if you can push for it, get a commission from them if you can, because you get the value from it. I would think there's some absolutely terrific artists out there. So Zephyri is I think it's probably one of the most recent ones we've had. Metal Pandora. I would say, rather than, I think sometimes people go like, oh, you know, I can't afford it. It was like, you can't afford it at the moment. Like, I would say, build up a little bit, like, and, you know, I think it's better to get like 1 or 2 excellent commissions than it is to get a ton of ones that don't quite work for you. But equally, I mean, we've used like DeviantArt points, we've used, you know, people sort of doing requests and raffles and what have you. Like, it's like anything. Like, get out there, give it a go. Now, finally, I'm doing something a little bit different. So I should explain. I just got back from Beccles, and there's a sweet shop called Sweeties in Beccles, and on sale they had. So, for those of you that don't know, Tayto is a very famous Irish crisp producer. I mean, their cheese and onion, really good. Their prawn cocktail, fantastic. They're worth looking up. It's a good flavour. This one is fizzy cola flavour, and I've seen a few videos recently of like people like trying like random stuff, and I just thought, you know what, I saw this in the shop and I thought I'm gonna give this a go. So first up, let's smell the bag. Okay, that is odd because I've smelt the bag and it smells like what you'd expect, like Panda Pops, like cheap sugary cola sweets, so it fits that. And I am now going to, moment of truth, I am now going to okay. This is bizarre because it's got like the fizz of Coke and the taste with like a note of crisp underneath, and I don't think it's bad. That's the really weird thing. I don't think this is bad. I'm not sure I'd get it again. This is actually pretty good. So there you go, bit of a fun thing. So what other like weird foods have you tried recently? And just as a reminder to everyone, reviews are exclusively on our Patreon now, which you can now do for $1 a month, and each time you back us, you are helping us to give money directly to our artists, so thank you very much. And, you know, stick around, because we've got to say we've got the end credits, and, you know, we give a big thank you to everyone who's put the effort in. I mean, not just the crowdfunders who have been absolutely amazing, but also artists, guest people who've, like, added to these videos, and, you know, we're super grateful to all of you. Anyway, much love. Bye!